What's up, everybody? Happy Thirsty Thursday. It is here at the Fourth and Go Show. I'm Dave Glockner. That's Marc Tomasini. We are part of the Heat Ratio Sports Network, Bellringer Sports too. But for tonight, we're going to be bringing it live with the Heat Ratio team as we're getting a lot of things going for the new year. But we're not going to stop, and that's why we're here tonight, dissecting an ugly Eagles game. Looking forward to a huge game this weekend in Dallas, and then get into a little Sixers, Phillies, and even some Flyers up 2-0 right now in Phoenix. So let's get it all going. Mark, what's up, brother?
What up? What up? It is a Thirsty Thursday. It is if we want to go Sixers, it's a winning Thursday. Obviously, we're not doing winning Wednesday. Eagles, not so much, but like you said, we'll break it down and we'll get into all of it. And there is a lot to get into with all of it.
There really is. So let's rip right into it. It is December the 7th here. The year 2023, and the Philadelphia Eagles finally lost the game. It's been a while, and now they are 10-2. They got, let's just be honest, they got dominated physically and also through the coaching game and through any other aspect you want to have, from special teams to defense to offense. It was all Niners. And, you know, they came in with a plan, and they came in and executed it, and they beat the crap out of us. No excuses here. It happens. We're going to pick ourselves up and figure out how to get better, because right now we're not as good as the San Francisco 49ers. That's what I was taught last Sunday. Can you beat them any given Sunday, right? You can. But it's going to take a lot to beat a team that is that well-balanced and that well-coached. So we got to learn something from it. That's what I'm taking out of it.
I got excuses. Not much, and I'm not actually using this as the benefactors for why we lost. But there are some excuses. The Eagles played a lot of games in a short amount of time. I know it's happened with other teams before. It does seem like that we are catching teams on 10 days rest when we're coming off of essentially 6 days rest. If you think about it, like, you know, looking back to, we played 3 games in 13 days. Again, I'm not crying. I promise this is not me making an excuse. I'm just saying it didn't work out perfectly for the Eagles. Time caught up. San Francisco had a lot of time to prepare for this game. But in the end, the Eagles have to go out there and take care of business, because they don't get that luxury in the playoffs, especially if they don't get the 1 seed. There's no buys if they don't get the 1 seed. So we can't let that be the end-all be-all. But it did help in the 49ers' favor. But the way that we played, we got it handed to us. What stinks, though, about it is that, you know, I know we're going to get into it. The first quarter, I mean, we had them on 2 3-and-out drives. We were gaining a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. And I said, the moment that they kicked that second field goal, I said there should have been 2 touchdowns. Because we didn't get those touchdowns, San Francisco going to get back into this game, and it's going to hurt us. So it did.
It did. Hey, Cease, what's up, brother? You're right. I think we have a similar mentality and attitude. Bad game. Let's push it away, sweep it away, forget about it. Remember it a little bit to motivate us, and let's get together and beat Dallas. I love it. You know what? I wasn't there this weekend. I was there for Dallas and Buffalo. I'm lucky I wasn't there. I'll say that much. I had many opportunities to go, even some club suite tickets, but it didn't turn out in my favor. And that's okay, because it was an ugly, ugly day. Yeah. Niners did act like it was their Super Bowl, but let's get right into it. First quarter, 6-0. You're right. The 2 field goals, you know, when the second one went through the uprights, we had an issue. And when we didn't stop them, and really what it was the third down on defense where they said Josh Sweat was offsides. And still to this day, I have no idea how he was offsides.
You're looking for angles. It was not.
Yeah.
And the point about that too is there was, you know, the look as if there was going to be a defensive pass interference in the end zone, and it wasn't called. And then that offside was called.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So it was like they almost like we're not going to call defensive pass interference here. They can't fight us on the offsides.
Yep.
So we're going to go with that. I mean, again, I'm not in the conspiracy theories. This is the first time I'm saying it tonight. I'm not in the conspiracy theories about whatever, but like this did seem like the timing of the flag when it came down and the play that happened of that play, very, very suspect and questionable.
Yeah, and that was the big
our hat on it, but it is what it is.
One of the biggest plays in the game. He was not offsides, but they decided to call it. San Fran then converts for a touchdown. Ayuk, which another one. I don't think he caught the ball.
It's
By the way, the ball hits the ground and moved. I don't care if your hand is under it; it moved. So
it slid. It slid parallel with the
yeah,
ground, like it
it's
slid on the ground.
brutal.
Dez's, we know how they say, was it a catch? The Dez Bryant one in Green Bay in the playoffs. Dez's was more of a catch than that
Yeah.
was. That one was not called a catch.
Yeah, the subjectivity of that drive. Now, again, we didn't lose the game because of that, but
No,
it really didn't put us in a good situation. 6-3 would have, kind of evened the playing field, getting in the half, maybe 6-6, 10-6 would have been a little better than what ultimately happened. But Cease is asking one question before I get into a little bit more breakdown. Listen, they were actually 12 for 12 or 13 for 13 before this week. So, I mean, yeah, they stalled this week. I'll just say this week I'm going to chalk it up to a little bit. I'll say this much of probably a better defense. And what concerned me was they're burning what's his name, number 7, Ward, the whole game. But then when they get down the red zone, they decide to get physical and throw this back shoulder pass, and you're not going to get that. I wish they would have hit him with slants and been a little more physical in the middle of the field. So I think they took some bad play calls and put it right into the Niners' defensive hands in the red zone this week. And plus, don't forget, Jalen slipped on the ground. When we're trying to drive and score and lost of 20. That really hurt.
Yeah, I do think there's a couple things that go into it. I think you look at, since Dallas Goedert got injured, I think that hurts. That's a safety blanket. I know
we were 12 in a row before that. There were 12 in a row. They were 12 in a row before that.
No, I know, I understand, but against a better defense. What I'm getting to my point is that
I got you.
Dallas Goedert is a great safety blanket. And yes, he has not been there the past couple of games, but San Francisco has really good linebackers. And
I got you.
The difference. Yep. You look at Kansas City and you look at Buffalo, they don't have the same linebacker play that San Francisco does. And it does for decent defenses and better. So, average to above average defenses. When they get into the red zone, everything gets tighter. That means the offense, and I'm not explaining this to you, but for whoever wants to hear it, the offense has less room to work with, and the defense has more room to roam around. And I think for San Francisco, the way that their linebacker play is, they were able to take advantage of the situation, not giving the Eagles anything to do on offense. So I think that the mix of Dallas Goedert, good linebacking play by San Francisco, definitely is the reason why we saw. Because think about it, going into the season, until that last 12 for 12 or 12 for 13 stride, we were one of the least efficient red zone offenses. Then we move up to the top 5 efficient red zone offenses, and then we can't do anything against San Francisco. So to me, I think linebacker play definitely has a lot to do with that. The loss of Goddard has a lot to do with that. Playing teams with inferior linebackers has a lot to do with that. Now, hopefully the return of Dallas Goedert this week helps us in that area. It helps us on third down, and it helps us in the red zone.
Yeah. Yeah, well stated. I do think, from that standpoint, missing him against a defense like that, yes, it was some of that. But more importantly, the second half kicks off, and San Fran goes right down again, and we get a little 21-6 lead. But then we get physical. And here's where I want to talk to you about the game. And we do end up getting it to 21-13. But before that, we have an altercation on the sidelines between Greenlaw and Big Dom. And I'm going to just say this much. In no way, shape, or form should Big Dom be near that play. That's just my opinion. I don't see – now, he got hit. Like, I think that's a grazing punch, and I think Greenlaw needs to be out. But Big Dom doesn't – dude, you're not near the play and roughing it up with players. Like, bro, you're not like – I don't know. You've got this, gift of, living through 3 coaches here.
Right.
I'm not sitting here calling him this big folk hero that everybody else is. I actually think he was idiotic. That's my opinion.
So, at first, I was team Dom, it's messed up. And I think Greenlaw was in the wrong.
He is.
Dom was just wrong place, wrong time. But you know what I think that is a part of, and I think it's going to catch up with them, and it's been catching up with them. It does take on the role of Sirianni. I think
that's it.
Andy Reid, Dom is not near that play.
Yep.
I think with Sirianni, he's like, it does have to do. I like Sirianni. Obviously, it's a very roller coaster ride with him because you live and die with him. You died with his introductory press conference. You died with his flower speech. But then ever since they did that, you saw all the emotion. And I do love somebody who shows an emotion. But then he has even what we never got to talk about in Kansas City when he's yelling at Kansas City Chiefs fans.
I know.
That's where he kind of lost me a little bit because it's like, I get it. You're frustrated. You're pissed off. People are putting you down, but you also have to put on your big boy pants. You're a coach in the NFL. You have one of 32 coveted positions. You got to kind of act like you've been there before because you did make it to the Super Bowl last year. Like, this isn't your very first win as a coach. This isn't your third win. You've been here. You've done it. And so I think what happens is Dom has gotten more of a free pass and he's able to do whatever he wants. He's getting more over the years. He's slowly coming into the onset of the TV and you see him more. He's the one getting Shaq Leonard from the airport. He's the one picking these guys up from the airport because the thing is about Philadelphia sports, we're so in tune and we need to know when planes are arriving. We need to know this. And Dom is that figure that is in that spotlight. The moment got too big for him because he inserted himself into something that he probably shouldn't have been in. I still think that the NFL is getting hard on us. I think that's also a little ridiculous too.
But
I agree he shouldn't have been there, but we're getting into the NFL is still looking at the scenario. It's like, all right.
No, it's over. But listen, if another coach did that to our guy, how would you feel?
Yeah, no. Well,
you think he
coach?
Oh, he's not even coach. That's even worse. I know. I think we'd have a big problem.
Just saying, but it's not like I could see if Dom threw a punch. He just was like kind of like trying to hold his own. Again, he should not have been there. And that's the rule that anybody who is not a coach or a player. But here's think about this. Like, think about Yankees, Red Sox. Pedro was still a Red Sox. And he threw down. It wasn't Don Mattingly. It was
Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer. And he threw him down by his head, right? I mean, that's an old man. And he's a coach getting into it. It's like, it is kind of the same thing at the same time, like just trying to bring everything together. I could see if Dom throws a punch back, he absolutely deserves everything that he's getting, but he kind of was just trying to protect his own. He just shouldn't have been there.
Yeah. I think we need to calm down and this is where I'm getting to.
Well, I agree.
I'll get to your points in a second here. But we need to all calm down from the Sirianni brashness that he shows. And, we're turning into kind of a team you can easily hate if you're not from here. And I don't mind people hating. I read a quote the other day that Kobe loved being hated because people don't hate good, they hate great. So I'm okay being hated. And I take that for seriousness. If you hate us, it's because we're playing great. But I just need us to take a step back and play some football. And all this, like Sirianni did all this pandering beforehand, showed all the clips of the Niners, whining, to the team, had all this stuff lined up. Let's just go some X's and O's. Let's fix Desai. Let's fix Johnson. Let's get out there and play some football. So that Dom thing kind of just wrapped up to me with frustration that right now I feel like we're playing bigger than football. But with that, Cease did ask, what about the penalties? I hear you. There were some blatant holdings down the field. I'm not a Blankenship guy. It is what it is. He was 8 yards in the end zone on one of Debo's runs. I'm like, what are you doing out there? Like, can you just hit a hole and guess? Instead, you can't tackle someone in the end zone. But there were some bad calls, but it didn't. For me, we were just beat.
Yeah, we were definitely just beat, and I do kind of want to refute. San Francisco were playing the mind games. They were playing the trash talk.
We did.
I understand and let them do it, and I get it.
They came to our sidelines, and they also tried to fight. They came to our sidelines pregame.
What?
They came to our sidelines pregame, and got into like, leave it alone. Like, I
understand, but San Francisco was kind of baiting us into that too.
Exactly, we took the bait.
I don't know if we did as much. I think there would have been a pregame scuffle if they really took the bait.
Yeah,
I think it was excessive on San Fran's part, but they were the bullies. They were the dominators. They came out. They were ready to do what they were going to do, and they were taking no prisoners. So, as a fan, if I were a fan of the 49ers, I would appreciate that we intimidated the shit out of the Eagles. But at the same time, I also think they had a hand in this too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, It is what it is. They came in with motivation, and they can do whatever they want. They got in our heads, and they did more than that to beat us that bad on the field. I never saw a 23-point win come. I didn't. Could I have seen San Fran winning by double digits? Sure, but I mean, it was just 6 straight possessions with the touchdown. That's an absolute joke. So
75 yards plus.
So my question to you, and it's more, now we're in the aftermath. What was the biggest problem in that game? And part of you, I think, is thinking it's the layoff, but was there something else that really irked you?
In part, yes. In part, I definitely think it was the amount of time that San Francisco had, the least amount of time that we had, was part of it. I think that we also, it goes to the way, like it's in part because you said something earlier that had to do with Johnson and it had to do with the side.
Yeah, they stink.
I think Johnson, I agree. A lot of people have tried to rally around Johnson and say, well, look at what they're doing with the red zone and stuff like that. I think they've missed a lot of opportunities. So I will go with Johnson being not ready for this job. Desai, I think he's getting a little more of a bad rap than doing so because I think a lot of it has to do with the play of the defensive backfield and the lack of linebacking. And I think that has a big part of it. And I think that's something that the Eagles have always shied away from is being press corners. And I think the Eagles gave space to the 49ers. And if you look at it, Brock Purdy is now the MVP favorite because he threw for 300 plus yards in this game. He didn't throw for that in the air, and not everything is thrown in the air.
No.
But so many of those were 5-6 yard slants that 2 of them were like 40, 45 plus yard touchdowns by Debo that were just taken to the house. So where my issue is with that is that we were playing off. We're not playing press. We're not being physical. We're not getting up on them. And that makes it so much easier. Debo's a strong runner. Like, I got to give Debo's credit. I can't stand him the way that he acts in, the trash thing and everything like that. And he was one of the biggest bitchers when it came to after the championship game. Happened. It is what it is. Whatever. I get it. But they kept belaboring the fact. Like, all you had to do, honestly, this game wouldn't have been have as much vitriol if they just shut their mouths and then they came out this past Sunday.
I can't blame them.
We're going to beat your ass.
Yeah, but you're blaming them for motivating themselves and then coming in and whooping us.
I know, but we had to deal with this all off season, which I was just like, it's babyish. It's childish.
Well, then we're being babies saying that they shouldn't have done that because they came in and whooped us.
I understand, but at the same time, it's just like
I get childish.
It's the whole thing's childish.
I don't disagree.
I think they were part of it. Like, they were all bitching. Robbie Gould was talking about Jalen Hurts. Like, dude, you're a kicker. You have nothing to do with this.
Yes. But again, it doesn't matter to me. They whooped us. That's okay.
Yeah, the whole thing, it made the lead up to the game so intolerable. The last week, I was not able to listen to the radio. I was because I was so annoyed.
Yeah,
everybody running their mouths, bitching. The people in San Francisco, the people on our stations, people doing this, the people doing Debo talking, all that. It made the game unenjoyable to me until the ball was kicked off. I could not deal with anything, and it pissed me the hell off because I wanted to enjoy this. I went to the Buffalo game. I had the time of my life at the Buffalo.
Yeah, so did I.
Right, and then to deal with that all freaking week. Anyway, so it was annoying. But again, to that, and I get it. San Francisco came in, they beat our ass. We didn't help ourselves. I think we screwed ourselves by playing off. We weren't physical with them. They were able to do whatever they want. And I think what's annoying about it is if they take their chance, I'd rather get beat deep than get beat on short screen routes. And that's what was annoying.
So let me get to a few things here. I was close to this. The running game needs to change. And I'm with you. I think, it's been funny out in front of the link recently. Novacare. I'm sorry. Recently with some of the signs early mornings here, I acknowledge. And so I do think you have somewhat of a point here that it was the running. But for me, it's still defense. And this defense has massive holes. And to Mark's point, one of the ones I agree with the most, I think there was a play early in the game when it was on their third drive that they ended up going 90-plus yards on us. It was like 2nd and 15. And freaking Slay's 13 yards off Ayuk, and he gets 13, and now it's 3rd and 2. Like, what are we doing? Like, everybody presses our guys, and you got to fight,
Right.
and your timing gets disrupted. When you're like this style of defense, and that's what it is the D-backs, but it's a little decide too. Like, we were able to generate 70 sacks last year, and we're not even close to that this year. So in points, like
down sacks, I know.
and the third down defense is the worst in the league, letting up first downs at a 45% clip. So for me, it's all defense. It's a very bad defense. And unfortunately, I'm not sure one signing this week, which we'll get to in a second, can necessarily fix that. We'll beat up good teams. I said it last year. We beat teams last year with horrible quarterbacks. Cooper Rush. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There were just some bad QBs, and we whooped them. When good QBs faced this team last year, even though we had one of the best pass defenses, they shred us like Mahomes did in the Super Bowl a little bit. I mean, he wasn't total shred, but it's bad. This defense is bad. And
we only gave up 28 technically because we fumbled the ball.
Right.
Well, 31 if you count the field goal, but
yeah, but that's still a lot. Should win the game. And this week 42, like that's absolutely embarrassing. So defense is my problem. Do I think Sirianni is calling? No, I don't. I don't know if that needs to happen though.
Well, here's the thing though. I felt like when things turned around was when we had Steichen here. Steichen was a good play caller.
He was. We never had a problem with him.
Because once, remember in 2021, midway through, was it 21 or it was 21 because obviously 22 we started off 9-1 or whatever. But when Steichen took over play calling, you saw much more advances in the offense. So I honestly don't trust either Sirianni or Brian Johnson to call the plays, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it is troublesome whoever is doing it because it's not good. There's been some good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but to just totally disabandon the run and really get into some scripted passing situations that didn't put your quarterback in great opportunities there. That was tough. And then Cease is giving you some shout out here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I get it's probably this. So I do want to interject. There was a firing a week or two ago. I want to grab your thoughts on this. Carolina, they fired Frank Reich.
Yep.
You have the Indianapolis game last year where Nick Sirianni yelled at the fans and said, "This is for Frank Reich," because the way that they fired him. Though they did, Indy did do him dirty. I think Carolina was a very bad situation. I think they have a very bad culture over there. I think their owner kind of runs through coaches and runs through their personnel.
Yeah, Tepper or something like that.
David Tepper. Yeah. He's done a bad job. Do you think that if next year they brought in Frank Reich to be the offensive coordinator, do you think it would be an upgraded offensive coordinator compared to Brian
1,000%? And I also think that there's a chance, like, if you remember in the Super Bowl last year, I think it was just the Super Bowl, but I don't know if they did it late in the playoffs. But Vic Fangio came on and did some defensive consultant, for the Eagles until now he's down in Miami defensive coordinator.
Yes.
So,
and it was almost like we were going to hire him, and then we just didn't pull the trigger. I don't know what happened with that, but or Miami.
But what I'm getting at is I could see a Frank Reich consultant. Now, here's the problem with that, and I'll just lay this out there. Right. You may never see Frank Reich again because I think if he takes another coaching job, he might forfeit some of that 30, 40 million.
He gets 50 million. I think he still gets 50 million.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure he can take a coaching job with that. So I have to look into it, but the stuff I've seen in the past is
I think it's one of the things you offset what you are owed.
Yeah, if he made $1 million with us, maybe he still gets his 49. I don't know, but I would love to see him just from back in that 2017 run. It was just such a good coaching staff though, all around. From the QB coach to obviously defensive coordinator who's doing wonders in Cleveland right now. Even though we got frustrated sometimes with him.
I think that was time to move on. I think
it was
wide now, but the wide 9 scheme was not working with what we had.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, it was good factory of coaches at the time. Sure. So I think that's really what what was our downfall more than anything. And that's big when you look at last year to this year when you lose Steichen again. No matter what you want to think about Gannon, fact of the matter is losing stability on a team that went 14-3, 15-2.
I think a lot of the transfer from Gannon to Desai is the fact that we lost a lot of good players in free agency. Like, they weren't the best, but I think them collectively together, like if you look at what TJ Edwards is doing in Chicago stinks, but he's a very good linebacker for them. I think
he's running sideline to sideline.
It stinks because it looking back on it, I remember being like, oh, like honestly, I will be honest. When it was like Darius Slide, they're not gonna bring him back. I was like, okay, makes sense.
You were
bringing up cap space, it's fine. And then they brought him back, and it's like, oh, great. Like, we knew, because we were better with the devil that we knew compared to the devil that we don't know. And the devil that we don't know is who's going to play cornerback for us. If you let Bradbury walk and you let Slay walk, but we kept them back. So like in the moment, it felt like this is the best thing for us. We have cornerbacks who know what they're doing. They've played in this system. It's all good. But now look at it, like we have no linebacker play and our cornerbacks aren't really doing much for us. So now we're kind of in a worse position. Had we maybe brought back Marcus Epps and like, which is crazy to think, Marcus Epps and TJ Edwards, this defense might be completely different.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
Well, and let's go back to CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like he kind of fumbled the bag with this, hit what he wanted, and he ended up with a 1-year deal. I sure would like him back there better than Reed Blankenship. Or if I could pair him up with Reed, I could live with that. But yeah, I think the personnel is a little bit lighter. I got you, but you also got Jalen Carter in the mix, and you also got a new year of Jordan Davis, and that front line should be just as good. And it's
they're beat. I think they're beat right now.
They could be, but they've never had the kind of sacking outputs that, like, Sam Howell gets sacked by every other team in the entire world, but he throws for 800 yards against us in 2 games. Like, there's been other problems, and that's why I think Desai is a big part of the issue. He's very conservative, and his blitz schemes are vanilla.
Yeah, well, I saw that. Right. They are vanilla because I saw that like we're like teams are 92 for 132 against us when we blitz.
Yeah.
It's a very, very high percentage.
You just see it coming. There's no like I watched Kansas City and Spags, and what he'll do is he'll blitz 2 from the one side, and then he disguises. He drops 2 defensive ends or a tackle on an end out, and like he just it is. It's hard to watch what we're doing. But
I'm not even the biggest Desai fan, but I just also don't want to shit pile on him. But at the same time, maybe it's warranted. I don't.
Yeah, I'm okay shit piling on him, but where I'm not okay is I'm never a guy that lets go. Like, even after this season, you'd have to prove to me that there's some absolute genius out there. Otherwise, I'd let him try and live again with this and get better.
Yeah. I don't see a better answer. Right.
I do think he's back next year. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I'm not a big fan of discontinuity. And Mark said it earlier, like with the way Wright worked out in Carolina, like you can't just keep firing people and expect better results. At some point, you got to give some people time.
Yeah.
So I'm all right. But hey, enough about that shitty game last week. Let's talk about the biggest game of the season. It's funny. It's the biggest game of the season for about 5 straight weeks now.
I was going to say Kansas City, or you could even go back to, well, let's see, there was Miami and then Washington. You essentially like Miami, skip Washington, then Kansas City, then Buffalo, then San Fran, now Dallas. That really is 5 out of the last 6 games have been biggest games of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm. And their biggest games of the year for the NFL too, by the way. The Eagles sell. Like, they had the biggest Monday night games for like the last 30 years. When they played Kansas City, their Bills game was tremendous. This last weekend kind of fell off by the time mid-third quarter came. But this was going to be a big one for NBC, and it's going to be a big one for both teams. I will tell you up front, I'm scared. And I don't mean scared from the standpoint of, oh, my God, Dallas is unbeatable. No, we'll beat Dallas. We've done it before. But the fact of the matter is they're passing very well, averaging 42 points a game at home, 6-0, and our defense is very susceptible to the pass. Tony Pollard stinks right now, and we can shut him down. Our run D is okay. It's not great anymore, by the way, but it's okay. But it's the pass game. It does very much worry me how we're going to be able to confuse Dak and really keep them out of the end zone. That's going to be the key here because we were listen, if Dak doesn't step out of bounds with 2-point conversion, we're in a little bit of trouble. So yeah, I'm just scared's the wrong word, but I'm definitely apprehensive. How's that?
Apprehensive is fine.
Yeah.
I'm probably in the same boat. One thing that benefited us towards the end of the game, because if they only gave up 6 points in the second half, I believe, to the Cowboys. And part of that was because Darius Slice stuck CeeDee Lamb. He still was able to get his yards, but they were able to keep them out of the end zone.
He followed him, and then that play.
He followed him. They at first they did not follow him. And
that play was so stupid.
The thing with CeeDee Lamb is he runs out of the slot a lot too.
Yeah.
So it causes an issue for defenses.
Yeah.
But you were saying?
Sorry. No, I'm just saying, like, even that play that they stopped him at the 1, it was stupid to let him even cut in front of you. Like, why can't one person stay with somebody? Like, even the play that Kansas City had on 4th and 22, my man should have caught the ball.
Yeah, Justin Watson. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we play some stupid-ass defense.
Yeah.
So,
no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, so anyway, I hear you. I do think it did impact the game. I think some of the big things of winning that game, obviously we converted touchdowns, right? 28 points. And that was big for us. We were able to answer the bell. I think we were down again in this game 10 early, right?
10?
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles have trailed by 10 in almost every game. Let's look at this one real fast. They were down 17-7. Oh, no, 14-7. Sorry. It never got to 10. It was 7. Yeah. But, yeah, we got all 4 touchdowns, and that was big where they scored 4 times, but one of them was a field goal.
Right.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean.
And then you got Cowboys killer Devontae Smith on a good roll right now. So, I mean, offensively, I think we'll still be able to move the ball. Dak had 374 in that game for 3 touchdowns. We were outgained by quite a bit. That was the other thing. We were outgained by 116 yards. So one of the keys in that game, they did have 1 turnover early. I think it was a fumble by Dak. So, look, it's going to take a lot. I off the top of my head, I can't remember last time we won in Dallas. It's been a kind of house of horrors lately.
Right.
But
there's also been reasons why. Like last year, it was Gardner Minshew, and they lost by 6.
And he threw a bad pick at the end. We were going. I know. He played good.
In 20, 21 was Hurts, first year. 20 was Carson. 19 was Carson. Yeah, I mean, it's been tough cookies when it comes to that. I feel like the last big win that we've had down there was Kyle Orton when we won the division.
Yeah, week 17 or whatever.
Yeah, it was the game of the week. It was Sunday night, and Brandon Boykin picked off Kyle Orton 10 the game.
Yep.
I feel like that was the last big win that we've had down in Dallas. We've had some big there before.
That, Vic?
Nah. Was it Vic or was it Foles?
Was it Foles? That's the other thing I was thinking too. Yeah.
I know. I'm trying to. No, it might have been Vic. I think it was Vic because I think that's when we ended up playing Green Bay in the wild card game and we lost. We tried marrying and to Riley Cooper and it didn't. And I think that was that time. So, yeah, it's tough going into Dallas. Don't love the situation. Don't love the scenario. Dallas has won 13 straight or 14 straight at home. But you know what I'm hanging my hat on? The Eagles are very good the past 2 years of dealing with adversity.
Yeah, resilient.
I do. So I will tell you this. So my brother-in-law called me up. Forget if it was Thursday or Friday morning. And he was like, so what are your thoughts on the game? Because we didn't do our show. So he's like, I need to know, what are your thoughts on the game? And I said, to be honest, I don't feel good about this. Referring to the San Francisco game. I don't feel good about it. I think they're in a tough spot. San Francisco's coming off of a lot of rest. I think we're coming off of a lot of tough games. We've won probably more than we should have. And I think this might be somewhat of a reality check. Now, again, like you said earlier, you said something earlier, you didn't see a 23-point loss. Neither did I. I saw maybe 10, maybe 12 point, like maybe 14 at most. 23 was a lot in the way that they got handled. Giving up 6 straight drives of 75 plus yards, I think was not in the cards for what they were going to do. But I told him, I said, I don't feel good about this game. But what the positives that you got to take out of this is, we have one loss before this, and I think a loss now could kind of get them refocused and back into the place where they need to be going into a deep playoff run. And I think that would be a good scenario for them. So you can take the positives out of a negative. And he called me up the next day and he goes, yeah, you're right. I was not happy about that. I was like, it is what it is. Like it kind of was what it was. So I'm hoping, long story short, well, it was still a long story. But with that being said, I think that the Eagles bounce back off of this and they play aggressive, they play hard, they realize what they did wrong. Because like you heard on the radio all week, like I think I heard Brian Dawkins talking, and he said, he was like, look, when you win, you go through tape and you go over it like, okay, you could have done this better. You could have done this better. After a loss, it hits that much harder. Like you really go through whatever it is, and you will look over the same play 5 times in a row, each play 5 times, and say what you did wrong and address those issues. And I think that the Eagles have shown that they are able to bounce back. I think this is almost a good thing for them. Not great, because obviously it would have been great to have a win over San Francisco. You solidify the number 1 seed, but you're not at that point yet. Okay, so we move forward. And I think they're going to be able to use this going forward. And also, one last point. I know it's been a while, but the way that San Francisco plays, they're very physical, and the screen game, Debo was able to just wreak havoc all over them. I don't think as much as CeeDee Lamb had 191 yards on 11 catches against us, I don't think he's going to be able to do the same. And he's not somebody who can really utilize the screen game like that and turn small chunks into big chunks. So I think that's where it falls into our advantage for Sunday, at least in the whole mindset. Floor is yours.
Cease, that game that you just mentioned was in Philadelphia on November 1st, 2020. Last time we won in Dallas was 2017. It's looking like per football database. The one game Marc references was back in 2014. 24-22. So we had a little streak where we did win 3 in a row in Dallas. But yeah, now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight losses. So yeah, I mean, it just, that's why I say it feels like a house of horrors. It just, and it always feels like it's end of the season we play there. Like we don't play there early. We did the pickle juice game as the kickoff game way back when in 01, I think it was. Looking back now, Philly 36-3 in that game. Oh no, I'm sorry. The pickle juice game was actually back in,
that was like 2000.
Yeah, I see we won 36-3, but that was on November 18th. So that wasn't then. It was probably
that was like week 1 of the season. I remember. I think
41-14, 2000. Yeah. 41-14. Deuce Staley went wild. But here's the bottom line. And we've been going a while in the Eagles, and we'll wrap this one up.
Sure.
It's a huge game. It's a huge game for both teams. But I think in the end, if the Eagles do somehow lose, I still think they win the division. Dallas has at Buffalo, at Miami, at home Detroit. 3 just murderous games where the Eagles
City in there, don't they?
No, they don't. And they don't play Kansas City. We had Kansas City. They don't get it. That was a bonus game. We don't play the AFC West. Because we didn't play the Broncos, Chargers, or Raiders, by the way. So that's their stretch coming up. We got Seattle, and then it's Giants, Cardinals. So really, in the end, if we're tied, I'll take those 4 games against their 4 games any day of the week. It's just the fact is we get into the San Fran territory. And that's what gets worrisome if we get tied with them, and now they have the tiebreaker. Home field's a big deal. Like Marc said earlier, 1 team gets a bye. It's really a big deal. I mean, do I want to be the 2? I'd take it because you play the worst team, and then, 3 comes here. I get it. And you know what? If 3 comes here, it's probably Detroit. I'd take that over, playing Dallas probably. We'll see. But anyway, Dallas hasn't beat anybody good, and we've heard that before. So you got Dallas hasn't been anybody good. Philly's really kind of worn down from playing all these, high profile games. What's going to give first? And in the end, I think Dallas is going to win this game. I hate to say it. I'm a fan. I'll be cheering the Eagles. I'll probably be betting them foolishly. But if I were to be just on my neutral site sitting here, I think it's be hard for the Eagles to get pressure at Dak Prescott. And he already threw for 370 in Philly. What's he going to do at home? Like I already said earlier, averaging 42 a game. I got Dallas. 30-24.
Okay. So Dark Cloud Mark is going to shy away for a second because I really think that's like I just alluded to. I think San Francisco was our sour milk. I think it was our, and I'm hoping that too. Don't get me wrong, but I honestly think there is a scenario, and I'm going to say 45% that this happens the way that it does. There's no real math to it, but I think like there's a bunch of other scenarios that I could see less. Like 20% this could happen, 15% this could happen. But I would say that my best prediction or chance to think is that the Eagles play a frustrating, tough, good offensive game. Dallas is, again, kind of in the same position that they were here. And the Eagles take their ass whooping, put it in their pocket, and they say, we're not doing this 2 games in a row. My thought is that the Eagles actually come away with a win, solidify themselves as the NFC East champs by winning this game 30-27 in Dallas and making it that they will be able to take everything going forward, win the NFC.
That'd be awesome. I love it. I love it.
So 30-27 Eagles.
And Cease is checking with 31-24. Love it, love it, love it. Obviously, I hope you guys are right. I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be, reverse jinx, anything like that.
Sure. No,
two teams, and right now, the Eagles got to find a way. If they can actually dominate the line of scrimmage and make this more of a rushing game, I think they'll win.
Sure.
If they want to play track meet, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
I think that we bring the house. I think they'll be recharged. I think they'll be refreshed. I think the infusion, I don't think he's going to do much, which we didn't get to. I think the infusion of Shaq Leonard might benefit them. Zach Cunningham is actually good to play, which I think that was the fear. So now you actually have, Cunningham, you have Leonard. Who's our other? Oh, Nick Morrow. You're going to work through the 3 of them. I think it gives them another able body. And I think that might be beneficial for them moving forward in Sunday's game, where I think that the Eagles are just going to buck up and get it together. I really think that if this team is what they plan to be and what they were last year, they'll buck up and grit this one out. It's not going to be pretty, but they'll do it.
Love it. Love it. All right, let's get into some NFL games. Let's get some 3-pack Sixers. Phillies Flyers in the last 15 minutes here. Mark, you got any recap from 2 weeks ago how we did?
I do. And I don't want to talk about it, but I will talk about it. I hate Thanksgiving. I suck at Thanksgiving betting. Never let me bet on Thanksgiving games ever again. I was 0-3, nowhere even remotely close to being anywhere near a serviceable bettor. So, yeah, the Lions got trounced at home to the Packers. The Cowboys absolutely beat up on the Commanders, and the Seahawks didn't stand a chance against the 49ers. You, my friend, got the 49ers piece right.
And it's funny.
Seahawks, but if I'm not mistaken, and I will need you to verify, but I had you on the Lions and the Commander sides of the first.
You're right. So by the time
you were 1-2, I was 0-3.
By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I published an article on WinDailySports.com. I did bet the Packers. So I went 2-1 that day once I kind of got some additional information. But yes, when we picked early in the week, we were doing Tuesday that week. It was 1-2. So you're right. So let's kind of go ahead.
I was going to say, I just wanted to update the standings. I'm 8-13. You're 10-11 going into week 14. We've obviously
we need to mix this up. So I'll lead off. A lot of games out there this week. Only a couple more buys left. So, but there's still a good stockpile of games to choose from, which I'm excited about. Looking deep into the kind of tunnel here. There's a couple games I do really, really like. And I'm going to start off with my first one. And that is going to be, I'm trying to choose this one or that one. Yeah, I'll do it. I know everybody was enamored, was excited, saw it in front of their eyes on Monday night. Jake Browning was something else. He was fantastic, but it's still Minshew mania for me. The Colts are finding ways. They won an OT against Tennessee this week. That guy with the mustache, he finds ways. I will take the Indianapolis Colts on the short line plus 1.5 at Cincinnati this week. I like Browning, like what they're doing. Here's the thing. It's going to be a messy situation out there, 40 degrees, lots of rain. In that type of situation, Mixon has been good, but the Bengals rank last in rushing offense in the league. Give me a better rushing attack with Indianapolis, a team that probably has a little bit more with Minshew, a little bit more experience to work through the murky field conditions. Colts, plus 1.5.
Get out of my damn head. For whatever reason, with you and I, we have this soft spot for Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
This damn soft spot for the Minshew mania, because I was going to talk about another game first, but since you brought it up, I'm not reverting at this point because I feel strongly about this too. The Browning thing, it's a great story, but a tough game. They almost lose that game if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get hurt. And there's going to be, you talk about the rain, there's also going to be a lot of wind, most likely.
True.
In regards to that with that game. Game probably goes below the under or the over under. It probably hits the under if the conditions are as bad as they think that's going to be. Colts are a tough team. You lose Jonathan Taylor. Zach Moss is a pretty good replacement. I think, and he wasn't really that effective this past week, but I agree with you. I think Minshew is comfortable in his scenario. They're not like a realistic playoff team, but he's having fun doing it. The team is following. I think that was a big win on Monday night for the Bengals, and I think it's going to be too much to overcome and to deal with. I think it's a lot of pressure on him in this scenario. I agree with you, Colts. You had it 1.5?
Yeah,
1.5.
Yep, awesome. All right, I'm going to get into my next game here. I had Carolina last week. And they were able to score a late touchdown, cover the number against Tampa Bay. But this week, and listen, the Saints stink. I get it. I mean, but I like my man J-Mo. And they just need to move. I'm telling you right now, I could do a whole show on how much I hate Derek Carr. And then don't get me into David Carr now, who is definitely a CTE and the way he talks. And Marcus Mariota is better than Jalen Hurts. And he's backtracking now saying better for the moment. No, stop. Anyway. Derek Carr stinks, and he stunk with the Raiders, and he cried a swan song on the way out and acted like this, bigger than, being, and thought he was getting a raw deal. Guess what? You freaking suck. Jameis Winston's the best chance. I know he's a gambler. I know he throws picks, but in the end, he'll get enough offense in this game. This is a perfect matchup for Jameis Winston. Give me the Saints -5.
Give me the Panthers +5. Because we are fighting on this one. So my whole point is what I will say in the Panthers defense. I think Jameis makes a lot of mistakes, and I think this will benefit Carolina. And I feel like they're getting Jeremy Chin and who else are they getting back? Who was that?
No, I coughed, but
they get
Burns.
No, not Burns. I could have swore. I'll have to go back and look, but they were getting somebody else back on defense, I believe. But Jeremy Chin was one of those players. Because honestly, I think that the Bucs are better than the Saints. The Panthers at the Bucs were able to. They lost, I think, 21-18, if I'm not mistaken. So with that being said, I think the Panthers are able to hang with the Saints. It's not outright. I think they still lose by 3. I think the Saints are able to hold on tight, but I think just the chance taking that Jameis does, and the fact that the Panthers rely on Chuba Hubbard, who is a way, and I hate to say this because I used to think highly of this guy, is a way better running back than Miles Sanders. And I think that the new coaching staff is just like, yeah, no, Miles is not going to get it done. We're going to Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard had a really good game last week with, even though there were 2 1-yard touchdowns, he pulled out a lot of yards on top of that. I think Hubbard's the guy. And I think they are making things easier for Bryce Young going forward. I like the Panthers in this spot. You have 5. I had 5.5 regardless.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got to get 6 to win anyway. But looking at my next game, I'm going to go with the team in the Minnesota Vikings that are getting back Justin Jefferson this week. -3 out in Las Vegas. Actually, the public is siding with Vegas on this one. The home dog seeing about 83% of the bets coming in on the Raiders. I think, it's recency bias. We'll say that. A good term in betting. And what we saw the last time Minnesota was on the field was a loss 12-10 to the Bears. And it was oogly, really oogly. So I think a lot of people, now they had this week off. Now they're getting Jefferson back. Now they're getting Dobbs some time with the offense. I'm okay with it. I think the Vikings will rebound this week. I think they're better than the Raiders. The Raiders are just, I don't know what they are. But, they have the personality. Their coach was good. They're fighters. But in the end, I'll take the Vikings -3 out on the road in Vegas.
Yeah, I think the Raiders story was good at first with Antonio Pierce. I agree. I think time is going to befriend the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson coming back. Dobbs just has to get him the ball.
Yeah.
And then he'll make the rest happen. So for once, we are not picking the same game at this point. I'm going back to the well. I'm going to make a huge mistake, and I'm just calling it now. But I feel strongly about this now. We talked a lot about this team tonight, San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about the fact they beat our ass in our home.
Mm-hmm.
They get to go back home. They get to play Seattle. And it is, and I feel like there's a lot riding against Seattle. Both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet were both limited in practice. Yep. The chips are stacked hard against Seattle, as they should be. But I feel like they got humiliated. They got their asses beat. And I think that they come back and make this a game. Again, I'm not saying outright. They're going into San Francisco. Very tough place to play. But I think the Seahawks and Pete Carroll have a little more self-respect for themselves to not let themselves get completely demolished again by San Francisco. I like the Seahawks here, plus 10.5.
And if you go by your theory, they played last Thursday night too, so a little more rest. They really battled toe-to-toe with Dallas. So,
and they right. Dallas has a good defense. They're still able to put up 28 against them. I think they're able to do some things. I do like Seattle in this position for
nice. Lot of points. I like it. All right, let's transition over to other sports we want to talk about real fast before we fly out of here. Philadelphia 76ers get a win last night. It's this weird in-season tournament week where, teams are kind of vying for the championship out in Vegas, as the Lakers are doing it right now, and the Pacers did it earlier with Milwaukee. But Joel dropping a 50-burger. I read 4th, but then I saw 6th career 50-point game. I also saw I think it's his 41st career game over 40, which is more than Jokic and Shaq combined in the past 23 years. So he's something special at center. He's just a scoring machine. They shouldn't keep it that close with the Wizards, who are atrocious. But in the end, a win is a win, and I'll take it. And the Sixers, for what it's worth, he missed 2 games with a little stomach bug. They lost both. When he's in, they're 13-5. Like they're a good team, and now Oubre's back.
Yep.
And we talked about it. They're still going to need another piece and kind of understand where that piece is going to fall at the trade deadline. But now if they can just kind of keep pace with teams like Boston and Milwaukee, which almost beat Boston with everybody out. Sixers are going to be Sixers. I'll call them the 3rd or 4th. They're right. It's a tier down.
They're in the same place that they've always been. Boston. They're in the same they've been. And that's
a tier down, right? Like they're not in that group, even if they're you don't call that group top 3. It's top 2.
Top 2.
Next tier. Yeah, we're in the next tier.
Yeah.
And right now it's Orlando.
Top of that tier. It's it didn't need to be this close, but to be honest, I mean, the rest of the team just did not shoot well. Besides Maxey, I I mean, Melton was 5 of 10, but really he had 19 points, but a lot of his points were at the end of the game because he was the one bringing up the ball and they fouled him.
Yep.
Put him at the line. So it really was just a Maxey and Embiid show. In the first half, everybody else not named Embiid was cold. Even Maxey was a little cold. They just
Oubre had
cold.
Yep.
You know, Oubre came. He was 5 of 8,
but he had 2 in the first half. That's all I remember.
Oubre.
Yeah.
Yep. He was what was good. What I saw that I liked is he was able to sneak through the defense. And he was able to get little put in dunks, breaking from, which is good. Active feet, getting himself back into transition. He was taking some hard hits. He was doing just fine. So I think it's good going forward. But the reason why it was so close is because everybody was ice cold for the most part.
I agree. But man, they stink.
It's frustrating. That is frustrating against Washington, though. And Washington also, it seemed like they were just not missing either.
They weren't, and I mean, I don't think Poole scored over 20 more than 2 or 3 times this year, and he did.
Right.
But
yeah,
but they stink. Like they have no effort, no defense, and But we got the win. And some nights you're not going to be great. Like we just talked about. I mean, the kids were watching the New England game, Patriots, and I could name the Jets win, and I was like, who else did they beat? And one of my kids yelled Buffalo. I was like, wow, how is Buffalo feeling right now, losing to that 2-10 team?
Right.
So sometimes you do have some difficulties against bad teams. I get it, but you got to come with the win, and Buffalo didn't. So in the end, good win by the Sixers. I think they have another game tomorrow night now, is it, versus the Hawks? And that is back here. We're getting, once that thing is over out there in Vegas, we'll just get into the regular swing now of what's going on. And I'll tell you, the Lakers, they're going to get there. They're up 30-some points in the third quarter. The Sixers beat them by 44 the other night.
Right.
It's a weird – and they played everybody. You can't say anything about the Lakers. They played
and the Pelicans completely smashed us.
Yeah, but we didn't have Embiid.
No, we didn't have Embiid. Right.
Yeah.
We were shorthanded, but
yeah,
it's a very weird, fickle, funny league. I think this whole tournament brings out the best and the worst of teams. I feel like it's
So what's your
an interesting product? Yeah, go ahead.
I like it. And I know we talked about it earlier, but now that we've gotten further along and we're here at the final game, I still like it from the standpoint of, look, it's a little extra money for some guys. Like the Pacers are one of the lowest salary teams in the league. They're going to be going nuts if they can win $500,000 each. But I also like it from the standpoint of it made some games important. When I saw the Pacers beat the Celtics the other night, that place was rocking. And it made me think, I'm like, they could never beat Boston in a 7-game series. But this is like NCAA tournament. One game, you never know. And I'm okay with it. I am. And I'm fine that it ends now, and then we just get on with the regular.
I find it to be weird, the timing. I think I get what they're trying to do to to the beginning of the season, because honestly, before this in-season tournament, nobody gave a shit about basketball until Christmas Day. For the most part, you get off to a hot start. Okay, we'll see where you are at Christmas. And obviously, essentially, the 10 best or most coveted teams play on Christmas. And that's really your barometer. Nobody don't care about anybody else who's not playing on Christmas Day. So with that being said, I think it's good for the game, but it's also just weird at the same time. What's weird about it is just some games count towards this, some games don't. You play the same one night, the game matters for the tournament. I think
there's only one that doesn't.
What?
There's only one that doesn't. These are all real regular season games.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. With the Sixers playing the Pacers back to back.
Oh, yeah.
One game counted towards the tournament.
Yeah.
The other did not.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about it. It's like I play you on Sunday night. I think Sunday night, the game that didn't count
smoked them
tournament is when Maxey went off for 50.
Yep.
And then the night and then 2 nights later, we played them again at home, and we lost, and they whooped us. That's to me what's weird about it is you pick and choose which games belong in this scenario, and I think that's what's weird about it. I think maybe they have to work a little more just to make it integrate more easily. I think it's still a lot for us as the fan to interpret and to get behind.
No,
I think
I'm with you.
maybe
There.
they get to there. Maybe they get there at a point. I just don't think it's ready. Like in regards to like, and also it was very weird that the first game was at 4:00 today Eastern time, so it's 1:00 out in Vegas. Like, also odd just the way that the whole thing goes about. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. Those back to backs were not like they got to find a better way. Like, because I think the advantage is to the loser. You're right. Like they can, they can make some tweaks and have a little adjustments. And yeah, I'm with you. But in the end, and cease to say, and courts are bright wild today. Watching Barkley do a crossover with Stephen A. Smith, there's some fun TNT, ESPN
Sure.
stuff. NBA is at least trying. I mean, NFL, you could never do something like this.
No.
MLB, could you just like what doesn't matter anymore is the All-Star game. So at least the NBA is always kind of stirring the pot and trying to find ways to get fan engagement back going. So for the most part, I'm good with it. But a Lakers Indiana finals, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see if I tune in. I'm not really like latched on. I can't wait. But that's the Sixers talk real fast. Let's go over to the Philadelphia Phillies. Mark, obviously we understand. We talked about the NOLA stuff, but not much has happened since that, except big news out in the whole MLB market with Juan Soto being moved to the New York Yankees for a package of pitchers. I mean, I don't see any way they don't resign Soto, but it's a disaster if they don't, because he's on a 1-year deal right now. But I can't. This guy was made for a market like that. Listen, I think Juan Soto, I can't stand watching. He's probably one of my most hated players to watch. He deserves to be in pinstripes in the evil empire because I just don't like him as a player. So I think he's just gonna absorb right in, I should say, and take on that role. It's good for the Yankees, it's good for him, but he'll sign.
Let me ask you, how had you felt about him coming here?
I wouldn't. So, of course, his talent I would have liked.
Okay.
Do I think he fits in the clubhouse? No, you just saw it with San Diego too.
All right, good. All right, so I'm not on crazy pills because I've been having a debate with one of my best friends. So one of my friends is on my side where he feels that he would not fit in the clubhouse. Other one is like, oh yeah, 35 home runs, this many RBIs, that wouldn't fit in our team. And I'm just like, you don't understand. Like, and I tried pointing out, like, the San Diego series last year, I think that was the moment that I was turned off, that I was like, I don't want him. Like,
yeah.
And it's kind of like the Harper thing. So before Harper came here, I remember back in like 2007, late 2017, I was like, the Phillies at some point are going to get back into being a contender. And to do that, I think they're going to go after Harper Machado. And because I remember, like, especially way back when, I would always predict, like, okay, who are the big free agents coming out? Who do I need to keep my eye on? Are we going to be somebody like, kind of a little side note, like, this is how I go through things. I'm not the biggest college sports guy. You know when I'm really in tune with college sports? When the Sixers or the Eagles have a high draft pick.
Yeah.
Because I'm scouting who could be here. I'm just a pro sports guy over college sports all day, every day. So going back to where I was talking about Harper Machado, like, I had to get myself comfortable with Harper's a real possibility here 2 years before he actually came here, because I used to not stand him before. Got on board with it. And then when I did more research, I realized he wasn't an issue. Like the clown question, bro, it was because he was Mormon, not because he was a kid. Like, if the reporter did their research, they would have known he doesn't drink. He's not essentially not allowed to drink. So, like, how can you ask them that question and be like, take you seriously as a reporter? Fast forward to now, Juan Soto. Phillies got mixed up into this potentially being a buyer of Juan Soto. And I was just like, I just don't think he fits. Like, they talked about the trade deadline. I don't think he fits in with the chemistry of the clubhouse. And, you know, I just think that in big moments, I think he comes up short. I think he can be a very good player for you. The numbers show the average is good. The home runs are good. That's all great. But I don't think that he helps you as a team. And I think when things are down, he's going to be down. And I think he's won his ring and now he wants his money. So trading for him and bringing him in, I think would not be ideal, because he'd be looking out for himself and not looking out for his team. Look, and I'm all for players getting theirs. That's not the point. But I just think in this scenario, I don't think he would be the best of teammates. So that's why I was asking you how you felt about that. So
Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah, similar.
I'm not the only one who felt that way.
Well, and it's not he's such a liability in the field at 24 years old.
Yes.
You already have Schwarber that you have to DH right now. So I just don't think he was fit this way. Yeah, Harper way better than Machado. Yep. More fighting, fits the city. He's been everything.
Yes.
And whatever you want to say, some people think he again using the word panders to the crowd. I don't. I think he actually just loves being here, and I think it's true. And I think it's heartfelt. Yeah. So, but what I'll say this with the Phillies, I think there's still another shoe to drop. I don't know exactly what it is. I will tell you, for me, it's not Hader. I don't need a closer. I think we got enough arms behind there, and I'll tell you, I'm okay with Kirkering starting as closer. But you could get Alvarado in the high leverage situations, Kirkering and Dominguez back there as righties, and still get Soto back on track. And you got 4 arms that could close. I don't need to sign Hader. I'm not paying $20 million for a guy like that. But I'm still interested in. Yeah, I'm still interested in Yoshi. I'm still interested in another starter, or I'm interested in some outfield bat. Now, I heard rumors that Jock Peterson might be signing on the die-line. Did you see that?
Well, I saw that he posted a story with the Fanatic, and he had my own playing, and then he took
just another left-handed bat. It's like
I want to go back to something that C said. C said so. Trout's not coming. No. Angels GM yesterday, I think, came out and said Trout's not available. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense on their point right now. If you move Trout, then you're done as a franchise for a long time. And I don't think any draft pick could change the way they've been. You couldn't do it with Ohtani and Trout here. You can't do it with anybody. And I think they need to reorganize that whole entire – they need to just clear everybody out, start anew, come back, and be back in 8 to 10 years, because that thing has been an absolute train wreck. Yes, Harper's way better than Machado. It fits the city, but we do have a Harper situation. And I do think that this is more Scott Boras, but you've probably heard that Harper, in quotes, check me out, I'm throwing up the quotes, he wants to finish his career here. We have an issue. I want to know how this is going to turn. It doesn't affect what we do this year. It doesn't affect what we do in the next 5 years. But it affects us down the road. He's got 8 years left on his deal. And I think that, and from what it sounds like, even from here listening to Jason Stark, it sounds like this is more a Boras thing than a Bryce Harper wants to be, than a Bryce Harper wants to finish his career here. How in God's name can you say you're 8 years away, you're going to be 38 or 39 at the end of your current deal, and say, I want an extension so I can finish my deal here? The problem is your client wanted a no trade clause, wanted to do what works for the Phillies, and you wanted to get your high number. You wanted to get your $330 million. So you took a 13-year deal, but he made it clear that he didn't want a trade clause. Now you're stuck where Machado did exactly the opposite of what Harper did. He said, yeah, I'll sign with you for 7 years, but I'm probably going to opt out in year 3 and then get a new deal and get bumped up to $400 million when all is said and done, beating your deal. So it's just like we're in a very weird spot right now with Bryce.
It is. I'm just, it's Boras, so I'm kind of blowing that aside. But Cease asked a question, and it's a good point, but I don't think, like you said, 8 years left, nothing to do. Listen, I'll be very clear. I want nothing to do with Blake Snell. Absolutely zero to do. He is
as a third starter. I would take him in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, pay him $200 million, so he's out of here and falling apart in 2 years. This guy can't throw strikes. He's had 2 good years in his career, and both of them turned into Cy Young seasons. And that's great. I get it, but those are the only 2 years he's ever thrown over 30 starts. Every other year, he's averaged about 20 starts in a season, and it's 8 other seasons besides these 2. He is a walk machine. Let's look at his walks again this year. 2.4 per K. 99 walks was a career high. That doesn't straighten itself out as the arm dies down. He does it on stuff, and he's 31. I don't want him. I just don't. I don't like. I'll take someone else. You give me some other names. Jordan Montgomery, maybe I could take as a 3. I don't want Snell. Will you really want to pay $200 million?
I will say if the Phillies can bolster their offense via trade or via signing, I would definitely take it on because it's less pressure on Snell. I think you're able to manipulate his innings pitched, and I think you can keep him healthier. And I think that you would have a good one. You would have a good rotation in full. Now
No,
you
I,
got to
I,
do
it'd be
something
great.
with. You have to do something with what's his
If you
face?
didn't sign Taiwan Walker to this
Right.
ridiculous
It would
deal,
be easier to stomach this a
I could
$200
talk
million
to
deal for Snell.
Yeah.
I get that.
I could talk to you.
I would pull the trigger.
Then you don't feel. I don't know what.
If you can offset or offload Taiwan Walker somewhere.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Okay. Yeah, I got you there.
and you bolster your offense a little bit because here's the thing: if you can produce runs, if you go back to small ball and you can produce runs, I think you can get the most out of Blake Snell.
See, I'd rather trade for a wild man like Dylan Cease, who I had 2 more years under control under arbitration, and probably I got to give a little bit, but
Chicago kind of has pulled back a little bit. They've pulled back that I really, from what I've seen, they're waiting to see what happens with Yoshi and hoping that because there's like 7 teams who are interested in Yoshi, that they're hoping that they're going to say, oh, he's off the market. And then the Cubs are going to, if the Cubs don't get him, they're going to say, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Because they also said that they are pulling back Luis Roberts.
Yep, Robert. Yep.
Robert. Yeah. They're pulling back him, who is a very good center fielder, who I would love to see the Phillies go out and try to trade for, bring in a real legit hitting center fielder.
He's awesome. Yeah. Cease, of course, I'd rather have Snell than Walker. We all
right. And that's
Walker is
Dave. That's not what he's saying.
You can't have both. That's what I was getting at. I can't sign him with this Walker albatross. Like we're done. If you sign Blake Snell, I truly believe there's no more maneuvering. You're in the like Yankees territory, Mets territory spending, and it. Would I love to have him? Yes, in a perfect world, but you got to offset some other things going on here. So, all right, that pretty much. Let me see here. Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this show. We're hitting there the 1 hour 10 mark. Peterson, yeah, if they do get him, listen, it just says a lot. No, I don't think they get rid of anybody, to be quite honest with you. Right. Jake Cave made the last out in the playoffs last year. He was a left-handed outfielder. So I just think it becomes your left-handed outfielder bat over Jake Cave. But so if you're saying get rid of somebody, it's Jake Cave. But I still think the writing's on the wall for Castellanos. We'll see. We'll see.
We will. Yeah, I know. It's a very weird scenario, I think.
Yeah. But that wraps it up for this week. Eagles, Cowboys, Sunday night. I can't wait to talk about with you next week. Can't wait to watch it. And then get right back on here. Heat Ratio Sports Network. Bunch of people I've seen chiming in. Cease, thanks a lot for the comments and everything you did to contribute tonight. A lot of other people, thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. We are Philly 4 for 4 plus so much more. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Marc Tomasini. We'll be back next Thursday to talk all Eagles stuff and get ready for a Seattle game that has turned to Monday night. And I'll ask Kim, is that okay? But we'll save that for next week. It's Eagles Cowboys. Until then, I'm Dave. That's Marc. We'll see you next week.